Chris always claimed he has shot in CinemaScope, but I know it's not true. He claimed Heroes is shot in CinemaScope. I said it's not true. It's Super 35. And also because because we're shooting in a very small space. Actually, the hotel in the film is a prison in Hong Kong for political criminals in the 60s. And so we just dress up this place. But that space is so small. In the room actually is only half of this platform. And you know, to shoot with a real CinemaScope, that means the angle is almost like 180 degrees. And there's no way he can put the lights. And his crew, his assistant, and himself with that, because we're shooting with antique Panavision cameras. It's 1970s models, because they are the only machines that's available at that time. And we want to capture that Shaw Brothers feelings. So it is a very big machine. So Chris and his assistant have to squeeze in the corner of this room and to shoot these scenes. And because we shoot in summer times and also in winter times, so sometimes it's extremely hot. And it really smelled in this room. So when you look at all the scenes, it looks quite nice, but it smelled really bad.
Another thing that's very striking about the visuals of the film is there are a number of times in the film where it kind of seems to go into a kind of abstraction, where the visual image is suddenly refracted or distorted or reflected in such a way that the image really becomes almost abstract. And I'm interested in why that is a kind of a recurrent gesture in this film, but again, you don't see that at all in The Mood for Love, I don't think.
I think it's because of the lens. The lens that we have is very old. Some of them is almost like 40 years old. So sometimes they have defects. But somehow we have to turn these defects into a style. So we're trying to make a lot of reflections or distortions to make it look like something really cool. In fact, we have this idea because we have to deal with the equipment that we have. And I think Chris did a very good job on this.
Actually, I just have one last question and then we'll take questions from the audience. I'm interested to know what it means to you that the main character of this film and In the Mood for Love begins life, or begins when we first meet him. He starts out, he's a journalist, but by the time we get to 2046, he's writing fiction. And I'm curious about what you saw in that kind of shift in him.
In both films, at the end of the films, I would like to thank writers, because the idea of this character, John Wooden, actually is coming from him. He's a very famous writer or journalist in the 60s. And in fact, I haven't seen any Chinese film or Hong Kong film it's about writers. Because in those days, writers has to work like hell. Most of them, they are serious journalists coming from China after the revolutions or after 1949. And they don't speak the language, and they have different ideas about writings. They are very serious. They think to write is a very intellectual thing. But by the time they get to Hong Kong, they have to write all sorts of things for their livings. Because like in a film, you can see, they pay only $10 for 100 words. In Chinese, it's not like lines, it's like words. So they have the grid. And you make, you have to write a lot. For the writers that I mentioned, he has to write almost 10,000 words every day to make his living. And he has to write like about food, about soccer, about horse racing, about porno, about some tips, where do you find the hottest girl in which club. And they write martial arts stories, and they have to write just like a normal journalism. So I think this is something very special, and which should be addressed at certain points, because it is what really we know about this so-called Hong Kong literatures. And I respect these people a lot, so I think I want to make a film about these people. And in film, actually, I've showed both films to Mr. Liu, and he said, basically, you're correct.
Okay, let's get some questions from the audience.
Yes, a few years ago you presented the festival, and I asked you a question about the reason for you to visit Buenos Aires, and you answered it because you love Madrid. My question is, would you ever think to make any of these films into a film, and if you ever had the chance to visit him before he died?
The question is about Happy Together when it was shown here in the New York Film Festival. This woman asked Wong Kar-wai a question about the production of the film and about his love for the author Manuel Puig, and whether he had ever wanted to do an adaptation of any of his other novels, and whether he had wanted also, whether he'd had the chance to meet him before he died.
Well, I would love to meet him because he's one of my favorite writers. But the problem is, the one who's taking care of his works, so-called his lawyer or his estate, is not too friendly. Because we try to use his title, Buenos Aires Affair, because the original title of Happy Together is called Buenos Aires Affair. And because we want to make a tribute, but they reject it. And it's very hard to get his work or to make a film out of his work because of these reasons.